Good morning. My name is Dr. Dale Hubbard with Perfection Bird Dog Training. Today we'll be discussing positive gun dog training online. I'll be joined shortly with Dr. Jeremiah Alexander, who is a prominent veterinarian in the practice. And we'll be discussing behavioral issues on training your bird dog, structure on how to do so. We'll be also addressing animal issues, medical issues pertaining to your bird dogs that Jeremiah will be addressing, and so he'll be showing up shortly here. We're currently here at the Cigar Box in Jasper, Alabama. Look forward to any questions that you have. We'll take and address any that you have. So I'm going to kind of sit quietly here and just waiting on Dr. Jeremiah Alexander to get here. We'll be starting at 11 o'clock. Good morning, Ed, Greg, and Stephen. Nice to have you join in. Once again, we're just waiting on Dr. Jeremiah Alexander to get here. Hello, Tanya. Good to have you join in. It actually gets started at 11 a.m., so just be patient, please. Hey, Rob. Anybody that has any specific questions, please have those ready. Once again, from a behavioral aspect to the structure of how Perfection Bird Dog Training has developed some positive methods and having a very effective outcome on upland bird dog training as well as waterfowl dogs. Hello, Danny. Good to have you. Okay, here comes Dr. Jeremiah Alexander.
How's it going?
Good. We're about to go live.
We're already live.
Okay, good deal.
All right, y'all go ahead.
door for a while. Sorry about that. Yeah.
And this, we had somebody walk in the back here, and all right, this is Dr. Jeremiah Alexander, and my name is Dr. Dale Hubbard. I'm an animal behavioral specialist. Jeremiah specializes in veterinarian, and he'll be addressing any veterinarian questions regarding your bird dogs. I specifically will address any kind of behavioral type structural design toward training your bird dog using a positive method. And so Jeremiah, I'll just let you introduce yourself here.
Yeah, hey, I'm Dr. Jeremiah Alexander. Appreciate y'all taking your time out today to come or actually listen to us. I am a veterinarian here in Jasper, Alabama. Have a very big interest in working dogs, and particularly in pointing dogs, upland dogs. I met Dale a couple of years back, and we've hit it off well. He's trained my dog while I was deployed to Iraq. He actually kept my dog, and actually did a lot of different things for that dog. And we'll actually later on in the next few podcasts or Facebook Lives here, we'll actually we'll go through some demos for that. But what time we got now? It's about 11.
We got about 5 minutes to go,
Okay.
Jeremiah, before we actually start taking questions. And
There we go. All right. If we have some technical difficulties, please deal with us. We're actually will work those out, and then we'll see what happens and see if it'll go. All right. We'll try to go live in about 5 more minutes. We can see it there. All right, good deal. I wonder if we can get the comments there to go back. Let's see if it'll do that. Just bear with us just a few minutes here.
good morning, Carol. Nice to have you tune in. We're trying to get to go live with. Nice to have you tune in. Trying to get to go live.
Is your camera working on there?
Yeah, but I don't know how to make it go live.
Okay. What we'll do is I'll scoot back a little bit if you want. Is that chair leaning a little bit? Let me get you a new chair before we go live. Switch out chairs there, Bill.
And you have to make the go live on Facebook here on my laptop. That'd be great. 2 minutes. Do you know anything about the Facebook page on?
No, I think it would be better to do it on the phone. So what we'll do is we'll scoot you over a little bit. The only thing is I'll scoot back. You know, you scoot up and scoot in. There you go. There we go. They have trouble hearing this. We just talk loud. All right. Patricia, thank you for tuning in today. Let's adjust it this way just a little bit. There we go. All right, scoot over just a little bit, Dale. There we go. All right, we got that feed. All right, about 2 more minutes. We'll get started.
Okay, Jeremiah, it's 11 o'clock. Time to get started. Once again, my name is Dr. Dell Hubbard. I'm an animal behavioral specialist. I've been training for approximately 60 years. The last 15 years of practice, I've been training professionally. Have went down the road pretty much of training positive gun dogs, which is a movement away from the traditional harsh methods, and have created just a tremendous means of having a very polished dog with limited results from using harsh methods. So anyway, during this broadcast we'll be talking about positive methods of training your bird dog.
All right, I'm Dr. Jeremiah Alexander, a veterinarian here in Jasper, Alabama. I met Dale a couple years back. I think some of you already heard this, but I have a very big interest in working dogs, particularly upland and pointing dogs is what I love. Dale actually kept my dog while I was overseas in Iraq and did some tune-ups while I was gone. It's been great to work with Dale and watch how he develops dogs with the positive gun dog method. I would like today to give a shout out to the cigar shop here. The Cigar Box, actually the name of it, in Jasper, Alabama, for letting us go live here in the back room. We got the nice dogs playing poker in the background, but they were nice enough to let us come in here and do this. And we're going to be going live in the next few weeks, next few months, and year over different spots. This is just kind of a basis today. But Dale, saying that, pardon us, this is a real working shop here, Cigar Box. So if somebody comes in and out, excuse the noise, and hopefully we can get through with minimal distractions. And Dale, let's just open it up and just kind of do our objectives here and just see what we go from there.
Okay, sure thing. When I started looking at ways to train upland bird dogs, and as well as waterfowl dogs, but primarily upland bird dogs, the world of dog training was predominantly dominated by using harsh methods or seeing how much pain we could put on the animal to get it to perform the behaviors that we wanted it to. So me growing up on a farm where my dad was always loved all the animals and stuff, and that was pretty my approach of treating everything with kindness, etc. And I saw that there's actually more efficient ways to obtain the same kind of good desires in your bird dog, whether it be hunting or field trialing, etc. by using positive methods. So in my educational background of working in psychology and counseling and having the opportunity to reproduce a lot of studies from B.F. Skinner, who looked at developing the operant conditioning of basically how all living things learn, and broke them down in very simple terms. If you reward something, the behavior tends to reoccur again. And so taking that forward, have produced a very effective program finishing a bird dog in approximately half the time that you might obtain with using such things as e-collars or prong collars or force fetching, etc. So by looking at what B.F. Skinner showed us back in the 40s, that there's particular ways that you can reward dogs, or actually any kind of animal, and using certain schedules of reinforcement that we'll talk about later on in our series of topics, that you can produce a very refined, very specific behavior with your dog. It also produces a dog that feels good about you, wants to work with you, and so you have good results. We also have Irvin Pavlov, who is a Russian physiologist that helped us to understand classical conditioning, and which helps us to understand how all dogs learn. So, through what developed is that if you start like from a puppy stage, or when the puppy first comes into the world, go back to some things that the Army started using back in the 40s, and that was to produce a super dog. And so they looked at using cognitive stimulation from day 1 to day 16, and that's something that we can go into detail about, but basically turning the dog certain ways and stuff, and actually it would create a lot of the things that a mother wolf, coyote, fox, etc. would do with their young, of just stimulating the puppy. And what the Army found out was that one, you have smarter dogs, they learn quicker, they're more resilient, resistant to developing diseases, and etc. So if you have the opportunity to work with the dogs from day 1, then you want to introduce them to the things that the Army has already done. That's the early neurostimulation of the dog. And I've certainly found that to be true in raising mine. Let's see. We have a question here by Patricia Williams here. It says, can you explain what is accomplished by using a clicker and a placement board? Well, that's a wonderful question. Actually, after the neurostimulation, I usually start using a clicker system and a placement board at about 3 weeks of age. And basically what the clicker does is something that B.F. Skinner and his immediate students of the Brelands developed, and it's simply a device that gives a clicker sound, and the dog, through classical conditioning aspects, learns that when you click the sound, it lets the dog know that it has performed the correct behavior and a reward is coming. So it cuts down, once again, on the training time. It gives direct communication with the dog, so looking on more specifically why I use the clicker system is that with the dog, by the time when they do a behavior, you have roughly 2, 3, 4 seconds at the most of getting a behavior or a correction for the dog to to make that connection. Anything outside of that, well, they may make a connection with the door shutting or a leaf falling off the tree. You don't know. So the clicker allows very specific, timely events about helping the dog to understand this is what you want. And as a result of that, then use a food-based reward system to give them like a paycheck. Same principle of you go to work, you expect to get a paycheck. They do the behavior, clicker lets them know they did the right thing, they get a reward. So it's important to do that. Now, do you keep using a clicker system forever? No. You want to fade that out eventually, but it's very effective in helping to establish that behavior that you want. The other question is the placement board. Why use a placement board? The placement board is a raised platform off the floor, and it's very similar to how we did early in school. You have the designated seat that you learn from in school, and so as soon as the dog gets on the placement board, you click them, let them know that's where you want them to be. They start teaching them behaviors, and they very quickly, within just actually a matter of 5 minutes, start learning that this is a good place to be, and they go into a learning modality of learning the behaviors. So probably 90 to 95% of all behaviors with bird dogs or any animals, dogs as far as that goes, is done to the placement board, and then it's generalized from the placement board to the ground, and then eventually out in the field.
All right, thank you, Dale. We actually have another question real quick, another veterinary question. Is what is the most common injuries with dog treats, and are rawhide safe? Great question. We get that a lot. The most common thing we see with treats or too much treats with dogs is actually gastrointestinal upset, or actually just an upset belly, okay? And the thing about it is rawhides, and go back to the treats real quick, just find a reputable treat that read the ingredients. The more the basic, the better. Not a lot of fat. That's where some of the actual flavorings and the types of actual stuff that's in the treats. That's what causes the dog upsets, and actually volume. Okay. And also on the rawhides, it's funny you say that. I got my notepad here. I'm taking notes on. And what I like to tell people about rawhides is, you see this piece of paper here. You see all these sheets right here. Well, this is my notes here. But what happens here is a rawhide will be 100 or so of these sheets. And as they eat the rawhide, in most bigger dogs, it doesn't actually affect them as bad. But you do have the problems with these sheets actually just peeling off, okay? And they can get stuck in the intestine of some of your smaller dogs, or even your larger dogs. I really try to encourage people to stay away from actual rawhide treats. There is safe alternatives to them, and treats do have their place.
To just add a little bit to that, Jeremiah, and actually that excellent explanation. In giving a reward or a treat, it's very crucial to give a dog something of high value. And an example of that might be if you go to work and they want to pay you with a truckload of potatoes, or do you want a paycheck of money? Which one you're going to decide? Well, most people, I would think, including myself, would say, well, I want the paycheck, I want the money, and I can do what I want to with that. So even with the dogs, while I use a chicken-based hot dog for the most part, or it could be cheese, it could be ham, etc., it's important to use what is important to the dog. And so if they like that treat, then chances are then that increase their motivation to work harder for that treat.
Oh, great question. Now let's just kind of go. We've got a couple more people tuned in here. But we got another question, Dale. What is the age of a bird dog ready for training? What age is the bird dog ready for training? That's a big question we get a lot.
Oh man, I tell you what, there's so many people, and particularly if you look at old school methods of training where people have used harsh methods of training. They say, oh, well, you can't train them until they're a year old. Well, there's a reason for that if you decide to go down that path of training. But most dogs are just not emotionally or maturity-wise able to handle any type of corrections that would create a negative effect. However, once again, going back to what I was originally saying, if I can start at day one, then that's when I start to train a bird dog. However, that's not most of the time not the case, and so if I can get them at 3-6 months at the most, I really like to give them during an earlier age. We have an imprinting stage with dogs that up to age 16 weeks old, they're very impressionable, and what they learn during that period of time, Jeremiah, is that will stay with them for the rest of their life. And if you go back and do an analogy of what that might look like in humans, is that it's easier to learn a foreign language when you're younger. With dogs, during that imprinting stage, up to 16 weeks of age, it's very crucial to give this very basic information to the dog. And during that period of time, I have developed what is called learning how to learn. Now, all living things come into the world with the ability to learn, but do we know how to learn? So through the use of the clicker system that we discussed earlier, you can see it here, just a very simple device, once again, that has been used since the 40s by the Brelands, and it helps them to start learning how to learn. So when you click it, that says, okay, you did the right thing, and as a result of that, you're going to get a reward. So it doesn't take long for them to understand when they hear that click that says, oh, okay, you did the right thing. Now, so the earlier that I can get a dog and to start training, the better I like it. So many times owners will have dogs that they've worked with and they've taught them different things that may not necessarily apply to upland bird dogs, or what they need to do, or behavior, or show the kinds of desired results that you want, has not necessarily been ingrained in them. So when I get them, a lot of times it's a rehab process of undoing what has already been taught to them, and not intentionally, but just people not knowing. And so it's a matter of if I get them older, then there's a lot of rehab to do to get them to get past that, and then you can start teaching them. But during that early age, learning how to learn. Once they learn how to learn, then the learning process goes very quickly. And there's no reason why that you can't train a bird dog from the beginning. And I usually do it 7 to 8 weeks period of time. That's steady the wing shot, follow the bird, retrieve the hand on command, and it's all done with a positive reinforcement training.
All right, we got a couple of new viewers here. If y'all have any questions, just type them in. We'll get to them. If not today, we'll get to them as soon as we can, or get you email back. Dale, I would like to kind of bring up a question. I was actually talking last night at dinner with a gentleman. I get this question in the exam room often. I get this family that, they'll come in with a kid and they got this new bird dog or hunting dog, and I always get this question, even out and about can my dog be a hunting dog and a family dog? And I'll kind of tune in on that a little bit, and I'll let Dale talk about that also. I think absolutely. My late bird dog, he was a family dog. He would He would load up in the truck. He would go. He would sleep in the bed if you choose to do that or not. He would sleep anywhere. He was in and out of hunting clubs and all the time would point. He would just come in, and you think he's almost human in a way. In my opinion, I think it's better to have a family dog and a hunting dog. But some of the older school thoughts are, as you know, this dog cannot be a pet and hunt. But in my opinion, in my experience, that's totally not true. But Dale, you can kind of chime in on that a little bit, because I know somebody's going to have that question or in the future.
Oh man, I tell you what, Jeremiah, I get that question a lot, and I hear a lot of people that come into me to bring the bird dog, and they said that their grandparents have said to the children when they were children, "Now, don't you go down and pet that bird dog. Don't you be having anything to do with him. You're running." And so I have been able to develop ways to work around that so that you can actually have a family dog that also serves a dual purpose of also a hunting dog. And there's specific things that you do with that. And so like I, for example, have 5 English setters. Some of them, they sleep with me in the house. You'd think that there wasn't a bird dog in them. They're a lap dog. As soon as you get them out in the field, they're spot on. They're steady to wing shot, follow the bird, and just follow direction in just a perfect manner. However, there's certain things that needs to be done with the bird dog to make that dual process of the dog being not only a wonderful hunting dog or field trial dog, and also a family pet. And the idea is that when you're out in the field or you're doing the training, there are certain ways that you train the dog and give them commands and stuff, and so they learn to do that out there in the field. And once they come in the house, then a lot of times you have different family members interacting with them, and what occurs is that they may say, come here or here, and then the dog doesn't do that. So the dog then hears that, the command. They know what the command is to come there because they've been taught that out in the yard, and they know to do it in the house. But then they decide, well, I don't do that. Well, then you get into a variable reinforcement schedule that we'll talk about in later events that Jeremiah and I'll have. But so if you have them in the house, and if you ever give them a command, you follow through with it. So if you ask them to come to you, well, by golly, that means come to you. That doesn't mean you have a decision to say, well, I'll come to you if I want to. No, it can't be that way. If you ask them to come to you, then you need to follow through with it, and they come to you, you pet them, you love them up, and there's a reward for that. So what diminishes that trained behavior out in the field is that they get in the house and different family members say, hey, come here, or etc. It could be anything. And then the dog doesn't do it. And then so when the dog then gets out in the field, they remember that being in the house. Oh, you gave me a command and I didn't do it, so I guess that means I don't have to do it. Well, it's not a democracy in the process, and so with that type of situation, as long as you make sure that the dog does the commands in the house, don't give them commands that you don't expect them that they can decide to do it or not do it. You give them commands and you follow through with that, and that way then the dog does not get mixed messages. And so then when you go out in the field and you have been consistent with that, then the dog doesn't have that concern in their head or thinking that, oh, I don't have to mind you now. Well, yes, they do. And so that's the way that you're able to blend those two together and able to have a wonderful bird dog and a wonderful dog and pet in the home.
Okay, is everybody able to hear us? I think one or two people's lost the sound. Is everybody kind of give us a thumbs up if you can hear us, if you will, and we'll try to drive on here. Let's see here. Jerry, can you hear us? Okay. All right. Hopefully everybody else can hear. We have one or two people having problems. If you can, give us a thumbs up when you can. Okay, good. Thumbs up. All right, we're back on. Hopefully everybody's good here. Well, thank you, Dale. We got a couple more questions. We've got a few more minutes here. We kind of want to get to the meat and potatoes of this while we're really meeting here. We've combined a lot of different things, and we've heard frustrations, and I hear frustrations, and Dale hears frustrations on training. Just one thing is, our thing here is we don't want to replace, if you have a trainer, we don't want to replace your trainer. That's not our objective, is to, replace trainers, okay? Our goal here is to help you train your dog the way you want to do. And we've combined efforts with a lot of different people. And what we have found is that we're actually going to do an online process here, okay? It'll be a subscription based, and we're going to have what we're going to probably call the First Point Club. And we will, you can come on through, yeah. But the First Point Club, this is going to be an all-inclusive how to train your dog from day one to if you want a field trial, or hey Dale, if you just got some kids and you want them to have a bird dog and you want to go hunting once a year and have a great house dog too, that's what we want to feel. We're going to include everybody in this and do that. And I think this is going to be, we're going to develop it into apps where if you have specific problems, we're going to have very short videos, so you're not sitting there watching 2 or 3 hours of videos or having to read all this. We want you to be able to go online and actually train your dog and have an app where if you have problems, we can develop a process. And, actually I know a lot of people are working and trying to train a dog. I get it. That's where I was. And we do have some issues. If your dog's trained and it come back from the trainer, it's not quite listening to you. And we see that a lot because sometimes what happens is when somebody else trains your dog, sometimes they don't want to listen to you. That's not always the case. Like, once again, I want to reiterate, we're not trying to replace trainers, okay? That's not our objective. But, Dale, you can kind of, get into this too. Our content, we're working on it right now. We're actually putting it together where you can, subscribe to this and just kind of, really, if you have a limited amount of time, we want to make that limited amount of time very effective, Dale. And I think we can with this new app and this new online training process that we have.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, Jeremiah, about other trainers. And the idea is that once you decide upon a trainer, whether it be us or whether it be whoever, it's important to listen to that trainer. Don't try to mix different methods together, because all you'll wind up with is a goulash, and you'll wind up accomplishing very little. So it's important to, whether you decide to use our approach, a positive gun dog method, or you decide to use whoever, it doesn't matter. Stay with that person. Because once again, mixing the two together, you'll wind up with a mess. And but we're very, very proud of what has been accomplished through positive gun dog training and through perfection bird dog training that I have, and be happy to address and work with people that have specific questions. I have approximately 400 training videos on YouTube right now. It's under Dr. Dale Hubbard, Positive Gun Dog Training. I've also have written a book, Train Your Bird Dog, and also have videos to go along with that. If people are interested at some point, that will certainly be made available to you. Not trying to push it or necessarily sell it, but anyway, it gives a very concise and step-by-step method of going about how to train in a positive manner.
And Dale, what we're going to do is we're going to be sending a lot of shout outs. We'll get your contacts, whatever, and there'll be some things coming up. We'll try to give you all a launch day. So like I said, we're trying to get what we call the First Point Club. It'll be kind of an initiation club. We're going to get all these videos and different actually assets for you can train your own dog in a very concise method where you're not spending 30 minutes to an hour just finding things. We're going to get this down where you can subscribe, and we're actually right now developing the app so you can have this on your phone while you're out in the field. You run across a problem, we want you to have a 1 to 2 minute video or a shorter clip to solve that problem right there, because we know your time is valuable. We've got about probably 1 more minute. We really appreciate your time. I know everyone's busy. We look forward to these in the future, and we also look forward to live seminars. If that's something you want, we can do veterinarian mixed with actually positive gun dog method talks, and just make your time, like I said, more precise.
Oh yeah, I do. And to please understand that the goal is not necessarily to get you to send your dog to me for Jeremiah for training, but it's designed to help you train your own dog. And that is in training your own bird dog, it creates such a connection and such a bond that that's just inseparable and will show tremendous results in the field. So the idea is to help you train your bird dog and address any questions or concerns or how to with you.
All right, so our time's up, and once again, from Perfection Gun Dogs, we really appreciate your time and look forward to interacting in the future, Dale.
Y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you for
you.
tuning in, and we'll look forward to next week.